The Electric Empire. It's Empire of Fire. Looks like they want to do it all over again. You know, this empire we live in began with fire. Yes, a couple of centuries ago, may have stopped, probably started centuries before that, as the WCC, the world crazy cult, call them what you will, burned the food forests of our ancestors, threw them into fortresses and underground human prison farms, and took out later generations and said, here's a wonderful world for you. It's the world of capitalism, agriculture, industry, well, enslavement to jobs, real estate, everything. And that world began about 250 years ago, maybe officially exactly 250 years ago. And here we are, fires everywhere. Let's have a look at what this is all about. I'm sure centuries ago, when this began, the fires were not begun in the same manner. There was no electric science yet. So I have done work explaining that large burning glasses, magnifying lens, were used in conjunction with brimstone as a fire accelerant. This is why we don't have many old growth forests, even in places where heavy wood harvesting is not happening. In any case, let me begin with the material I've planned, starting with a couple of short readings from the Encyclopedia Comedia, the Empire of Fire was a previous lecture. The origin of the word emperor is ampere, a measure of electric current. And empire was constructed from the words ampere and pyre, meaning fire. A man-made fire, of course. No empire existed until the WCC began mastering. Well, I should correct that. First, lens making, and later electricity. And they've used both to turn forests into pyres and fires. So, an ampere, yes, is a standard measure of the strength of an electric current. I suspect that WCC developed the first simple electric hardware over 300 years ago and used it to power tools, heat buildings, illuminate cities, and electrocute sacrificial victims in complex cannibal rituals. Now let's fly ahead to a chapter called The Table of Elements. Here's something about electricity too, and sodium dioxide. I think I mentioned sodium and sodom in today's earlier lecture. But here we go. This is my decoding of the table of elements. I've renamed it the table of psychopaths. And let's have a look at the 11th element. You know how important the number 11 is. Oh, we should go there too. It's in my decoding of that word is in this book too, but from the top of my head, the number 11 comes from the Germanic, Dutch actually, leven. Leven means living and life. And the prefix e, as in erupt, means to come out of. So 11 means to come out of life. It means to die. I think that's quite clear already. I have spoken about the number 11 a few times. Sodium is the 11th element. Well, what do we make of that? Is it a pun? Sod. I am sod, meaning I am already dead, under sod, and decomposed into sod. Maybe. Sodium or any salt mixed with water creates an electrically conductive solution, which is why we want you to consume salt. Ha ha. You can become more electrically conductive. Now you understand the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom equals sodium. It's a warning that with electric weapons, we will reduce electrified homes to white dust, as happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. Now you know why Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt. Remember the twin pillars, the twin towers, the number 11, the anode and the cathode, which together form the diode. The two electrodes form a diode. They are for killing. That was their perhaps original purpose. We are dealing with a psychopathic cannibal cult. But let's look a little further. Number 11 is important. Number 29 reduces to 11. Guess what? It is the element of copper. This is the first number that reduces to the number 11. 11 is our number for electricity. Electricity. Not coincidentally, copper is highly electrically conductive and is used to wire buildings so that they can receive electricity. The word copper comes from kop, which comes from the Dutch again, my motherland. Kop with a K, meaning head, while copper is spelled the same, but with a K in Dutch. Why did we encrypt the word head into the word copper? Let's try to pronounce the English version with the C as a soft C. Then we have sopper. The word sop is related to soup and to supper. One of the first purposes of electricity was to electrocute livestock, human livestock included. And obviously B for supper. Who's next in this numerological game? 47 makes 11. Silver, the element's number, reduces to 11, and is the most electrically conductive material on Earth. Is this coincidence? Who's next? 56, barium. Barium? Barium. Aha, you get it now. Let's bury them. This is what they're spraying in the sky. It is highly electrically conductive. Yes, we put it there in the sky to help manipulate the weather, your chemtrails. 65 reduces to 11. It's terbium. Well, 65, 74, 83, and 92. These four all are not electrically conductive. And there's some dirty joking going on here. Terbium, a little spelling game. We could make it the turb into turd. meaning shit. Tungsten, we can change the tongue into dung and make shit. Bismuth, smooth. Remove the H, the silent H. Why not make it a silent H? We could get smut, which means something dirty like shit. Uranium, named after Uranus. Your anus, the place where shit accumulates. Uranium has a double entry here for a second purpose. Let's go ahead to 101. Mendelevian. It has almost the word 11 in it. Literally, it means I am Mendeleev. He was the father of the periodic table, the table of elements. Sometimes I call it the table of elements, elements as in food. His surname does contain all the letters of the number 11. He was a doctor of science. Um, while on his deathbed, he reputedly rejected his medical doctor's advice. Yeah, smart man. He knew medical science is as fake as his table of elements and as fake as atomic theory. Sorry to break it to all the science fans. Well, I don't mean that you can't produce elements with your chemical processes, but they're not really out there in living things. And turns out they are not stable. They can be transmuted into other elements by living organisms, not only by laboratory experiments. But that's something for another day or never. Let's shift gears to, oh, let's see, my first tab. Let's see what's there. I'll share a few minutes from this interview again. I've shared a little bit in the past, a little more today from Eric Hecker's disclosure on secret tech.
So here's another view of the ceiling where it was burned. And then here is the crossbeam.
By the way, that was important because the burn is only along an electrical wire.
Here's another view of the ceiling where it was burned. And then here is the crossbeam that fell down, but it stopped burning after it fell. And then here's a close-up of where the electrical line was still hanging from the ceiling. And you can clearly see that it really only burned within an inch or two proximity of the electrical line. And to me, that seems to be indicative of microwaves. And I just wanted to see what your opinion was on that.
It makes me think of the survey teams, right? So all of that wiring, like you said, was a place of problem. Well, all of that wiring has a frequency being pumped out through it that could be seeked upon. So the survey teams, whether it's water line, waste lines, gas lines, there's oftentimes a tracer wire that goes with it, or lots of times in an electrical distribution system, it's just a frequency that they ride on the system. It's one of the problems of living in an industrialized area is technically the entire electrical system is transmitting on a.
Here's a little visual of fires. Very intense fires, somehow spontaneously igniting.
Particular frequency so that the survey team can do locates.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very possible when I see those pictures, it makes me think that, well, whoever has a directed energy weapon system that's delivering whatever.
So now it's clear he's not talking about directed from the sky or satellites, lasers, anything of that sort. No, it's directed through the grid to specific buildings, homes.
area by attacking the electrical system by riding your frequency into the frequency that it's outputting.
Right.
It's better than sonar. It's a deadlock right off the bat.
Okay.
And so something that a lot of people kind of argue is that there were no actual lasers seen. Like people didn't actually see anything come out of this.
That's right. So this is really bad news. It means every electrified home is now a weapon against us.
Sky. Do you happen to know if these frequencies or these weapons are invisible?
Of course they are. They're absolutely invisible. We're surrounded by invisible frequencies more than visible ones. So
Right.
these are just the manipulations of devices that are absolutely working without being seen. I mean, ever since we had submarines, we understood the value of plausible deniability for your weapons platform not being visible.
Yeah.
You know, now that you say submarine, and I know you talked about it with someone, I forgot who, but that there is a big submarine presence in Antarctica.
Well, this goes a bit off the rails. Really, this is some serious possibility, and more than possibility, that electrified homes can be used as weapons against us. I mean, the whole show should be about that, and many other shows. And so in my previous lecture, I did advise everyone to turn, especially in the US where this is happening, you should turn off all your breakers, switch them off before bedtime, maybe when you leave the house. What else do we have here? Chile's worst wildfire destroys town as help arrives. This is quite a while ago. 2017, a town named Santa Olga, which apparently exists in the bio region, the life region. You know, the WCC loves to choose its names, its targets quite carefully to send a message. It is anti-life, anti-bio. So it destroyed a town named Santa Olga in Chile on what day? Sometime in January 27th. And who is Santa Olga? Saint Olga. Well, she wanted to avenge her husband once upon a time. And when his murderers entered the bathhouse, Olga set it on fire from the doors so that all the Drevlians were burned to death. Oh, these pyromaniacs, they do their research. They know their literature. They thrive off believing they know that we know nothing. Well, I'm sorry to break it to them. I know what they are up to. I know their methods, their patterns. 2 years later, one of several Valparaiso fires in Chile again. Now, why would they choose a town named Valparaiso? I think it means Valley of Paradise. Paradise. You remember the Paradise fires in the US. Yes, the WCC does not like paradise. Not real paradises. They destroyed the food forests of our ancestors centuries ago. And now they're up to it again. They kicked us out of Eden, and yeah, I've spoken about that. That burning sword was placed at the entrance, at the east side of Eden to protect it. Yes, you flaming things are good for protecting gardens. Really good. Oh, they're so funny. Um, this was on the 25th of December. Do you think that was by coincidence? In a land full of Catholics, they would set paradise on fire on Christmas Day. Here's a history of fires, and well, one near fire, I guess. Oh, that's another fire. 4 times? This is not a lucky town. Valparaiso burned on April 12th in 2014, more recently in 2024. It struck me right away that, hey, we just had fires in the Paradise Place. Where was that? In California? The difference being that these fires are actual man-made forest fires, town fires. They don't involve secret weapons so much, not the electric grid and electrified homes. That, for the present, is restricted to the US. And yes, it was on April 12th, right? One of those fires, which one in 2014. Why April 12th? Yeah, sometimes it's the day of divine mercy. And actually, it wasn't that year. And February 2nd, did we have a February 2nd? February 2nd, the 2024 fire started on February 2nd. And it turns out that it's a special Catholic day with imaginary pre-Hispanic roots, celebrated 40 days after Christmas. People eat some bad food, but what's it about? What's it all about? Rosca de Reyes. Oh, the Candlemas. So yes, it involves fire. Oh, they're so clever. Those psychopaths. The town of Paradise, California, was largely destroyed on November 8th. Yeah, during a catastrophic campfire. BS. Bullshit. November 8th. November is the 11th month. November 11 with 8. How do we add it all up? 2018 adds to 11, reduces to 11. November 8th. 9 plus 8 is 17. November can be a 9, as in, I believe nueve in Spanish is 9 November. Then we have 17, and what about this? 11. Let's make it, well, too much numerology. Sometimes it doesn't add up. Not for me, even. Let's move ahead to what's next. I have some slides before finishing with some YouTube clips. Yeah, well, look at this. This is a photo from a YouTube clip from Oh, a U.S. newspaper, U.S. news outlet. Apparently, one of the reporters was just driving down the street in Reno, I believe. This is in Reno, Nevada. Yes, the journalist was just driving down the street and decided to stop and speak to this man. It's fake. Unfortunately, they're throwing fake news into real news. This is what a building looks like when it burns with the actual fires, I think. I don't think this is CGI. We'll have a look at this later. And this is important because the gentleman there complained that his hollow graphite fishing rods had melted. Really. And even his guns were missing, as if the fire had consumed his guns. Right, but it's quite clear that this house has just suffered a conventional fire, let us say, not a electric, I don't know what to call it. They called it microwave earlier. Some sort of electric microwave fire. No, this was not one of those. Well, it turns out that graphite does not melt. Well, it sublimes, stupid word, into a gas at temperatures some 3 times higher than a fire. So what could have done that? So they want us to research and say, wow, yes, that wasn't a normal fire, but it's the house testifies that it was a normal fire. I think I got this from the interview Brush Junkie did with the gentleman. What was his name? Anyway, I started with that. And this was about the possibility that the grid and the electrified homes and the wired homes could be used against us. Fluctuations are quite normal in the electric grid, in smart meters. So what if that was done intentionally, just ram massive amounts of amperes of voltage through the grid directed at one target. Just as they can shut off your electricity, they can give you too much. Fires, real, well, who knows who started them? 36,000 hectares, that's a kind of occult number, the 3 6s. Things on fire flying through the air. This is in Indonesia. Fire, fire everywhere. And really stupid. Indonesia named 6 provinces as fires destroy crops, and 72 are arrested for arson. They really want us to believe that people are willfully setting fire to their country. What? For what purpose? You can't call it arson if you can't collect insurance, can you? You can't collect insurance on jungle you don't own. Yeah, it's ridiculous. These fires are not set by people like you and I. This was in Texas yesterday, I guess, at a North Texas car lot. I checked out the name of the business. The business just specializes in uplifting cars. That's the phrase, the word they like to use um, for police officers, police cars, and such. They want us to believe that this was a natural fire. Right, that's why every car is missing its hood. Under the hood is the most electrically conductive part of the car, the engine. Apparently, the hood's melted or blew off. This one, partly, these two partially intact. And I'm sure the hubcaps are gone. That's normal, isn't it? A normal fire can't do that. And everything's still green around it. Even the concrete appears to have been dustified, to use a word coined by Judy Woods. I'll address her on Sunday, or undress her as you like. There's the image of that church ceiling again, where the wire ran through the ceiling and received a little too much voltage. What do we have here? Smart meters somehow just melted. Not so smart, but why there? Well, wires are running through them, to them. And as the whistleblower Eric Hecker commented, this kind of damage only exists in the United States. They have their Operation Electric Empyre a little more advanced than other nations. This is an image from Reno, Nevada. The house was dustified. Another dustified house. I'm not going to say they're burned. They're dustified. Another, the same one. Same one. Here we have a car. No scorch marks. This is the whole car just electrified. And hubcaps melted. Yes, wildfires cannot do that. Trees took a hit. They were very close to the cars, probably ignited because they were so close to these metal objects. Trees farther away, still green. Bizarre burn pattern on a telephone pole. Probably where the wood has disappeared, there was a lot of metal that received conductive metal, of course. Strange photo. I don't know what is still standing in the middle of this house. And this is a normal fire. A man was quite unhappy about this one. Is this the same one? Here we have a map for today, August 24th, yesterday. Amazing how these fires just want to stay within the borders of the US. There are now a few in Canada, and is that 1 and 2, or maybe in Mexico? I don't know why we here in Mexico don't have more. It's a tinderbox in too many places. All right, let's have a look at those YouTube videos quickly and round up, wrong word, finish. Come, YouTube, where are you hiding? Ooh, there it is. Refreshing or loading. Right. This is the interview with the man who lost his fishing rods and guns.
Your home?
Yes, there, I'm salvaging a little bit, not much, I mean, um, I found parts of one of my pistols and my gun. I haven't found the rest of my guns.
It's a very strange voice. What's the word? The acoustics here at Reno sound very unusual, as if the man were speaking in a studio. How strange.
Survive, but like my whole fly tying table and all my fishing gear, my fly fishing gear, all my rods, I had 28 fly rods that are graphite, and I'm sure they all melted in the fire.
Please note at the very end of this, we can faintly hear him speaking about his hollow graphite rods, and it sounds faintly like holograph, hologram, hollow, what's the word for those illusions in midair? Holograms? Yeah, it does say holographic, but a bit strange. But that's looks like a normal fire. But again, normal fires do not melt graphite rods. Certainly not nor guns. What do we have here? Hawk fire near Reno. How accurate can they be? They've counted the acres one by one. This number reduces to 18, which is code for the 666, the signature of the WCC. Oh, yes, now I know why I recorded this. So I stopped this, sorry. Included this. That was being filmed by a man on a ancient tractor. Here it is again. It's some kind of bulldozer. And he's driving through fire with what, a camera on his helmet? There are some strange people or strange videos being made. I wonder if, some of this is trying to pollute the pool of truth with some fakery. This last video is out of Canada, British Columbia, not far from the US border. So have a quick listen.
Over 11,000 lightning strikes hit.
11, of course, 11 is the number for electricity. See, when you have knowledge of more than the number 33, so much more starts to make sense. 11,000 lightning strikes on a single weekend. Well, is that actually unusual? British Columbia is a massive province, a few times larger than Texas, probably 3, 4 Texas could fit there. I don't think 11,000 lightning strikes in one weekend is anything special. But the problem here is that they wish for us to always blame nature and us, the people, for these disasters. Of course, it's not just nature's 11,000 lightning strikes. No, it's you and me eating not meat, but okay, it's people eating meat, it's people driving cars. I drive one occasionally. That's what's causing wild lightning storms. That's what's causing droughts and floods. No, our militaries and perhaps organizations even more secretive than they don't have secret weapons. They wouldn't do that. We're not ruled by psychopaths. The WCC, there is no history, secret history involving a cannibal cult that destroyed all the food forests of our ancestors. There was no human farming in the past or the present. No, adrenochrome is just a myth. No, our enemies don't really want to live forever by injecting and transfusing baby blood into themselves. They wouldn't do that. This is all myth. Let's keep our minds in the movie theaters where everything is fiction. And often those fictions are really quite close to the truth, but no, who wants to believe that? Well, it's a hard lesson to learn. It's time to learn it quick. I think we've got about 4 years. So I hope everyone takes some action, spread the news, spread the knowledge, share my work, buy my books, because our access to the internet will not last forever. And really, books are a superior form of communication, despite the fact that they don't have my wonderful voice to animate my words. But, well, they have much else to offer, much more to offer. You can actually make connections between my books. They are not typical. I've written 6 simultaneously. So yeah, there are many connections, let's call them, between them. Far more than I can make in hour-long videos. In any case, that would also support me. And no, I'm not greedy. I really have almost nothing now, just some savings, very part-time work. No wives to support me. Do wives do that? No property. I'm free as a bird. I wish everyone well and inspiration to help others, inform yourselves. Be well, stay safe, and inspired.